Ever hired someone who looked amazing on paper, like the perfect candidate, but then in person, total disaster?
Oh, tell me about it. That's why they call it finding the right fit, right? It's like a puzzle.
Totally. It's not just about checking boxes on a resume. It's got to be something more. And that's what we're diving into today. We're looking at 𝗹𝗶𝗶𝗃. They're looking for a logistic manager. And we've got 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃's resume. Big question is, could he be their guy?
Sounds juicy. So what's the deal with 𝗹𝗶𝗶𝗃? Fill us in.
All right, so picture this. Amsterdam, right? Heart of logistics, bustling, international. That's where you find 𝗹𝗶𝗶𝗃. And they're not messing around. They're handling what they call complex supply chain operations.
Complex. Okay, so we're not talking about like delivering milk and cookies here.
Definitely not. Yeah. Think like huge clients, maybe even international, tight deadlines. Their job posting mentions highest quality of service, and they work with everyone from like retail giants to those big manufacturing companies.
High stakes. When I see those buzzwords, complex, highest quality, I'm thinking high pressure environment. Got to be detail-oriented on top of everything. Mm-hmm. And with international clients, you're dealing with different cultures, different ways of doing business.
A whole other ball game. And to steer this ship, they need a logistic manager. But not just anyone with that title,
Right. This is where it gets interesting. What are we talking about here?
Okay, so they're overseeing a team of 20 logistics pros, collaborating with every other department, from purchasing to customer service.
So a real people person, but also like strategically minded.
Exactly. They even call it a crucial role in the job description. Talk about improving processes, hitting those operational goals.
Sounds like they need a real go-getter, someone who can make things happen. No pressure.
Right. So enter 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗃. Over 10 years in logistics and supply chain. Started as a logistic planner, moved up to supply chain coordinator. And get this, he's been a logistic manager before.
Okay, so he's got the experience.
Yeah.
But what does that tell us about him, his drive?
Well, working his way up like that says something about ambition to me.
Definitely. And he's actively looking for a new logistic manager role that shows he's not afraid of a challenge. It's a good sign for a company like XYZ, right?
Totally. I mean, past performance, you know what they say.
Often a good predictor of future success.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. So let's dig into this resume.
Okay, Jan's resume. Time to see what we've got. Team player, leader. What's the verdict?
Well, remember how important team leadership was in that job description?
Yeah.
Well, Jan's managed a team before. 25 people at ABC Transport Group.
25! That's even more than XYZ is looking for.
Exactly. He's got experience leading a larger team. That's got to count for something, right?
Definitely. But managing and getting results are two different things. What's his track record like?
All right, so buckle up. Remember those cost-efficient supply chain strategies XYZ wants? Jan's got that covered.
Oh, yeah. Give me the details.
He managed to reduce logistics costs at ABC by 15%. And get this, implemented a whole new warehouse management system. Looks like he used Manhattan Associates.
15%? That's massive. That's the kind of impact they're looking for.
Right. But here's where it gets tricky. XYZ cares about highest quality of service, remember. We need to figure out, did those cost savings compromise anything? Or was it all like streamlined processes, smart negotiations?
Good point. Because saving money is great, but not if it means sacrificing what 𝗹𝗶𝗶𝗃 is all about.
Right. So that's something to dig into. Maybe Jan can explain how he achieved those savings without, cutting corners.
Totally. A chance for him to show he gets their values. Okay, so another thing they mention, international experience.
Ah, yes. In Jan's resume, it mentions international suppliers, but not so much about the client side of things.
Which is different, right? Because suppliers are one thing, but managing those international client relationships, navigating those waters,
yeah,
that's another skill set.
Exactly. Different cultures, different expectations. It adds a whole other layer of complexity.
So that's something to watch out for. Maybe Jan picked up some of that experience along the way, even if it's not explicitly on his resume.
Yeah, maybe a good question for the interview, see what he says. But for now, let's move on to the really interesting stuff, culture fit.
Right, because skills and experience, those are important. But will he vibe with the team at XYZ?
Exactly, because XYZ seems to be all about that driven and enthusiastic energy. And Jan, his resume screams results-oriented, proactive.
On paper, sounds like a match made in logistics heaven.
Right. But is it all a bit too good to be true? We need to go deeper.
It's like you can have all the right ingredients, but will the recipe actually work?
Exactly. And you can't always tell that from the outside looking in.
So how can someone like Jan, really show that he gets XYZ's vibe?
Well, this is where networking comes in. Maybe Jan knows someone at XYZ or in that world, someone who can give him the inside scoop.
Like a mole, but for company culture.
Exactly. Even just a quick chat, what's it really like to work there? Could make all the difference.
Right, because sometimes those job descriptions, they're painting a rosy picture.
Totally. But even without an inside man, Jan's got options. That cover letter, prime real estate.
Instead of just like repeating his resume.
All right. He can show off his personality, tell a quick story that shows he's a good fit.
A show, don't tell. Right.
Exactly. It's those little things that make you stand out.
This has been so insightful. We've covered so much ground, from like deciphering job postings to that elusive culture fit thing.
It's all connected.
So for our listeners out there, what are some things they should remember, whether they're job hunting or, hiring?
Okay, so number one, it's a two-way street. You're both trying to find the perfect match. And don't just focus on what you've done, show who you are.
Because at the end of the day, you want to enjoy going to work. Right.
On that note, I'm going to leave everyone with a final thought. Imagine you're Jan walking into that interview at XYZ.
Sure.
What's the one question you ask, not just to impress them, but to know if this is really the place for you? What matters most to you? Ask that question. You might be surprised by the answer.
So true. Until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.